So the good news, 4-0 in the divisional round. That is the perfect response to going 0-4 in the wild card round. Just follow it up with a 4-0 week. Bad news, there's only 3 games left in the football season. This football season has gone by pretty quick. And it just seemed like a couple weeks ago, the Falcons and the Eagles kicked off the regular season. So it's all coming to an end. We just got to savor the last 3 games of the season. Hopefully they're memorable. Hopefully they get high ratings. And hopefully they're never forgotten. Hopefully for positive reasons and not for negative reasons. Hopefully we don't see any blowouts in the conference championship games. Because it seems like normally, with the exception maybe 2 years ago, that there's always one good conference championship game and the other one's a blowout. So hopefully they're both good games. Hopefully they're both competitive. And a game that you really want to watch again and again as a overall fan of sports. Hopefully they're rematches from previous regular season matchups. So the Rams and the Saints, they met each other in the regular season. The Saints gave the Rams their first loss this season. And the Chiefs and the Patriots, they're rematching as well. The Patriots gave the Chiefs their first loss this season. So both these games are rematches. So we're going to talk about the NFC Championship game first, because that is the one that we played first. So it honestly just makes sense. So there are a couple of things that stick out to me right away in this matchup. And the Rams' defense, their run defense especially, held Ezekiel Elliott in check. Less than 50 rushing yards. About 2.5 yards a carry on average. So the Rams' defense really held Zeke Elliott in check. They're going to have to hold Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram in check as well. Especially Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is more of a dangerous running back than Mark Ingram is, because Alvin Kamara has speed, complete steal in that draft a few years ago. And also, Drew Brees, you've got to keep an eye out for him. And, well, here's some keys to the Rams. The Rams, they had a chance. Well, they had some chances to pull off the win against the Saints back when they played in the regular season, but they just couldn't execute. If the Rams can execute this time, they're going to win. And here are some ways to win the game. So you got to account for Michael Thomas at all times. You also have to be ready on long yard situations. Now, the one drive that sticks out to me from the Eagles and Saints game was the one that took over 11 minutes off the play clock, or off the game clock. The Saints went 11 minutes on the field and scored a touchdown out of the deal. And a lot of those plays, the Saints, they took bad penalties. There was a couple holding calls, but every single time they responded. They bailed themselves out of it by completing long passes, in particular to Michael Thomas and Ted Ginn. So you got to account for those two. You got to account for Michael Thomas first, then Ted Ginn. Although it does kind of get complicated, because even if you double team Michael Thomas, it just opens up Ted Ginn, better chances of finding him. But you want to account for Michael Thomas first, because you don't want Michael Thomas to beat you again. You don't want him to dominate against you again. Because in the matchup early in the season, Michael Thomas over 200 receiving yards and a touchdown. So you don't want Michael Thomas to beat you. I feel like the Rams secondary can take their chances with any wide receiver other than Michael Thomas. So Michael Thomas is going to get a lot of work. The Rams secondary should expect a lot out of Michael Thomas. Starts with 12 receptions, 211 yards, and a touchdown in the last game. You can't let those numbers beat you again. Even if you contain Michael Thomas, you've got to account for Ted Ginn as well. Those two are going to be difference makers for the Saints offense. Even Traquan Smith, he'll be a difference as well. And also what's sticking out to me as well, Marshawn Lattimore was a huge difference. He was, I think, despite the Saints defense pretty much outscoring the Eagles, pretty much the Saints outscoring the Eagles after the first quarter, Marshawn Lattimore should be the player of the game because Marshon Lattimore had 2 interceptions. He had the interception that really turned the whole thing around. The Saints were down 14-0. The Eagles are moving the ball at will on the Saints defense, but Marshon Lattimore came up with the interception. And then Marshon Lattimore again came up with the game-winning interception to seal the deal. So if the Saints win this Super Bowl, if they win it in Atlanta, look back at that play when the Saints are down 14-0 against the Eagles. Eagles are moving the football at will on this Saints defense, and then Marshon Lattimore comes up with an interception. Based on the way the Saints were playing the game at the time, the Saints could have gone down 21-0 if it weren't for that play. And if Marshon Lattimore didn't get that interception right before the 2-minute warning, that is why you always have to be alert, because the Eagles, they could have ran the clock down to the 2-minute warning. But Marshon Lattimore, huge credit to the Saints for having complete awareness and not just assuming that they're going to take it down to the 2-minute warning. Huge credit to them for being aware and their awareness. And that did cost the Eagles in the game. Maybe that's why Alshon, it may have slipped out of his hands, because maybe they were assuming, even I was assuming, I'm sure a lot of you were assuming, that the Eagles were going to take it down to the 2-minute warning. But all in all, that's in the past. But we got to focus on the present. So those are some things that stuck out to me from the divisional round. However, here's what I think the difference of the game is. It's not going to be whether or not you're going to pick the experience over the youth. The experience over the youth, that's not really a credible question to ask for this matchup. Because your experience for the Saints, it's pretty much Drew Brees. He's pretty much the only experience that's on the Saints. And there's some experience on the Rams defense. They've played in some playoff games. However, like in Ndamukong Suh, Aaron Donald, Marcus Peters, it's their first conference championship game. So here's what I think will be the difference in the game. It's going to be which running game is going to control the tempo of the game. Because I really don't think this is going to be in the 40s. I think it's going to be a little bit lower than that. Maybe a little lower, but maybe a lot lower, depending on how you want to look at it. But you have Todd Gurley and C.J. Anderson, who stepped up against the Cowboys in the divisional round. That Rams running game, it stepped up, led by Todd Gurley and C.J. Anderson. And you have Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram on the other side. And the winner of this game is going to be which one of those running back tandems is going to be able to control the tempo of the game the best. This isn't really about scoring points at a high rate. It's about controlling the football and making sure that the pace is being ran at the pace and the tempo that you want. And I think the advantage here goes to the Saints. Because the Saints, that's the one thing that stuck out to me in the division round against the Eagles as well. That one drive that they had, the first one they had in the second half, they just completely controlled the tempo of that game, taking 11 minutes off the game clock. That is going to be huge. They can do that again against this Rams defense. And I think that Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, they're going to control the tempo the best. I think this is going to be a game of cat and mouse. It's going to be a game of chicken. Which offense will get out there the longest? Who's going to win the time of possession? Making sure that the tempo is the tempo that you want it to be. And I think that goes to the Saints. I think the Saints move on to Atlanta by a score of 27-21. I think it's going to be a lot low scoring than it was in the regular season matchup. So we're moving on to the AFC Championship game now. We've got the Chiefs and we have the Patriots. The Patriots are going on the road in Kansas City, in Arrowhead. In the regular season matchup, the Patriots, the Patriots and Chiefs played in Foxborough. The Chiefs, they came back in the second half. They came back to tie the game, but Tom Brady led a 2-minute drive to set up a game-winning field goal by Steven Gostkowski. So here's what stuck out to me. Here's what stuck out to me right away. I've said that the Chiefs' offense has accounted for 565 total points before the playoffs began, which was the third most in NFL history. And it's up there with the 2013 Broncos. It's up there with the 2016 Falcons, 2007 Patriots, 2012 Patriots, I think it was, 2011 Green Bay Packers. It's up there with those teams. But what do all those teams have in common? None of them won the Super Bowl. And there's a reason for that. Because maybe it's because those teams didn't necessarily care about defense. Maybe because they figured since they're scoring points at an alarming rate, they maybe not need such defense that often. But the old saying goes, offense wins you games, defense wins you championships. That is the saying. Yes, this is a game. The Super Bowl is a game. However, this is for a championship. And what's sticking out to me right now is the Patriots are at their best when their running game is going. Sony Michel stepped up in the running game for the Patriots. Sony Michel had a dominant performance. Rex Burkhead even scored a touchdown. James White was a huge factor in that Patriots receiving game, especially on those checkdowns. 15 catches for 97 yards. And the Chiefs defense has to be ready for those. They got to be ready for James White to be a difference maker. And what Bill Belichick does is he eliminates what is best. He eliminates your strengths. He eliminates that. That's where he wins these games, is by taking out your strongest asset. And the way I see this matchup going is the Chiefs defense, it may be the 31st overall defense in the NFL. It may have been that way in the regular season. But I really meant it when I said that this Chiefs offense is looking a lot like, if not even better, than the 2016 Falcons offense. And the Falcons defense that year didn't have a defense. But it got better once the playoffs began. And that could be a factor. And what stuck out to me for the Chiefs defense is that the Chiefs defense is coming off what I think was their best performance all season long. They held the Colts scoreless from the first three quarters. The only points the Colts scored until the fourth was a blocked punt, and that was on special teams. So the Chiefs defense, they played as best of a game as you can. That was their best game of the season. Although it did kind of bend a little bit in that fourth quarter, it didn't break. Some of that could be because they were resting. They knew they had a big lead and they didn't want to risk any injuries or risk anything bad. But the Chiefs defense, they can use that for momentum to go against these Patriots. Because the Chiefs defense, they've got to step it up, definitely, if they want to beat Tom Brady. If you want to beat Tom Brady and the Patriots, you've got to force some turnovers. You got to force multiple ones. You got to win the turnover battle. You can't turn the football over yourself. Because turning the football over against this New England Patriots team, it's giving Tom Brady an extra chance. And Tom Brady feasts off extra chances. The way I see this game playing out, however, I see the running game for the Patriots being a difference maker. And this is kind of rare when you don't really talk about Tom Brady or Rob Gronkowski or Edelman being difference makers. You don't really talk about that. Like in the divisional round, when you watch a lot of the highlights, you'd see a lot of big numbers for the running game for the Patriots. And when the Patriots running game is at their best, that's when the Patriots are at their best. And I think the Patriots running game takes that momentum they had from that game against the Chargers, and they completely feast on it. However, the Chiefs run defense, if it rises up to the occasion, the Chiefs will win the game. But I don't see it happening. If the Chiefs can get some pressure on Tom Brady, kind of get some hurries on him, I think the Chiefs win the game. However, I don't think that happens. Yes, they have the advantage in Arrowhead Stadium. Yes, the last time the Chiefs-Patriots played there in Arrowhead, the Patriots got blown out 41-14. Yes, I am aware that happened. And yes, I'm aware that the Chiefs, they've scored a bunch of points against the Patriots in the last two matchups. I'm aware that three of the last four matchups between the Chiefs and the Patriots, the Chiefs have put up 40 or more points. But you got to take into a factor that there's no Kareem Hunt anymore. Kareem Hunt, he was effective in the last two games that the Chiefs and Patriots played. Kareem Hunt had 80 rushing yards and he had 105 receiving yards and a touchdown. And his touchdown was one of the touchdowns that ignited the Chiefs' second half comeback. So that is a huge reason why I'm taking New England. I think New England's going to win this game because, yes, this is a battle of experience and youth. And the youth, they may look like the flashiest team, but the youth, they've not adapted to the situation that the experience has been in with Brady and Belichick, Gronk, Edelman. The Patriots, they've been there and done that. The Patriots, I think they win this game. I think it will be a shootout. I really don't think the Chiefs will put up 40 points in this one, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did. But I think the Patriots, they win this game. They move on to Atlanta, hoping to get some redemption from last year's heartbreak in the loss in Super Bowl 52. I think they move on to Atlanta with a score of 38-34. I think the Patriots defense is going to make a play in the fourth quarter that will be the difference in the game. I think it's going to be going back and forth throughout start to finish. But in the end, I think the Patriots secondary, they make a play in the last couple minutes in the game, and the Chiefs will not have the opportunity to overcome it. So those are my picks for the Conference Championship weekend. I have the Saints and the Patriots moving on to Atlanta to compete in Super Bowl 53. So like and share and subscribe. Also comment your picks, and I'll see you next time.